All right, ladies and gentlemen, here is GT once again in his virtual classroom, and today we shall be looking at an important topic, not for students, but this time is for university uh, authorities. And the topic today is centered around tolerating plagiarism, the role of universities. Tolerating plagiarism, the role of universities. What role are universities playing in order to tolerate plagiarism? How much plagiarism will they tolerate, and how much will they not tolerate and then sanction a student for committing the act of plagiarism? So this is what we are going to look at today. But before that, let's listen to a small lecture about the punishment of plagiarism.
Now, let's discuss the penalties for plagiarism. Penalties for plagiarism vary, depending on the nature of the offense. The more serious the offense, the more severe the penalty. In order of severity, the penalties cover the following range. A warning is a formal reprimand. Redo the assignment with grade penalty. Failure of the assignment. Failure of the course. Suspension is the loss of student status for one or more semesters. And expulsion, the permanent loss of student status.
All right.
Now, let's discuss
sorry, I'm going to re-echo what she has just said in a faint voice and in American accent. I will quickly run over what she just said about penalties for an act of plagiarism. She said that an act of plagiarism is being punished in order of severity. Okay, that means it is not all crimes that are measured the same. Okay, for example, you cannot give, in a common law, you cannot give 10 years for somebody who's just stole $1 and then give the same 10 years for somebody who has murdered, caused a murder. Okay, so the level of punishment given to a criminal depends on the severity of the crime. So in academic room, in the academic field, how much plagiarism would you allow a student to go, or would you not allow a student to go? So that is what she has just said. And in the academic field, during an act of plagiarism, the first one, depending on the severity, is warning, and that is a formal reprimand. Formal reprimand. 2, you allow the student to redo the assignment with great penalty. Okay, so if a student commits a plagiarism, depending on how serious it is, you ask the student to take the assignment back and redo it. Okay, it is not only redoing the assignment, but coming back with a percentage deduction, like 5% or 10%. You know why? If you allow a student to go back and do the assignment the second time, you are giving that student to excel and then do better than his or her colleagues, which is not fair. So that is why you do what? You deduct some points as a means of punishment. So if you ask a student to go back and do the assignment and then that student comes back to get 100%, it's not fair to his colleagues. Okay, maybe the first assignment the student could have performed badly if he or she did not commit an act of plagiarism. So that's why you ask a redo and then with a great penalty. The third punishment is failure in the assignment. Okay, you depending on how severe the act of plagiarism is, you fail the student in the assignment. Then the fourth one is suspension. You suspend the student from school or from class. That is an enough punishment. And the last one, the straw that breaks the camel's neck, would be expulsion. Like, okay, you expel the student, you sack the student, you ask the student to, dismiss the student after facing academic board. So if this last blow is given, then that means the act of plagiarism is so severe. But in a waterfall procedure, you start from warning to redoing the assignment to failing the assignment, suspension, and the last is to expel the student from the school. So that is what we will be looking at today. What amount of plagiarism will universities tolerate their students to commit? This slide, we will be talking about the concept of originality. The concept of originality. It is expected that all students are expected to produce an original, clean, and well-formatted AP-style documents of academic or research work. So that is the concept of originality. Your work must be original, it must be clean, it must be well-formatted in APA style. If all these qualities are not found in your work, then you have a problem of plagiarism. Now, the question is plagiarism tolerance level. So each school will have to have their tolerance level for their students. They should not all be the same. All schools are not the same, so all the rules and the bylaws in the schools cannot be the same. So how much plagiarism would a school tolerate their students? How much copy work is too much for a school to bear? In this slide, I'm going to take an example from the University of the People, UOP, headquartered in California, US here, that I happen to be a lecturer. So I'm going to use their plagiarism tolerance level as an example in this presentation. So in this chart is an example for University of the People I just talked about. So it contains 3 columns, okay? 3 columns. Column 1, we have originality score. Column 2, we have interpretations. And then 3, we have the actions. Now, column 1, originality score. If, for example, the test score, the plagiarism score of a student is 25% or above, okay, that means if the originality is 25, the amount of copy work or plagiarism is just 25%. Now, interpretation. In this situation, the situation is perfectly reasonable. It is good. No real copying problems. Just 25% copy work. So the action here is for the teacher to review the report well before drawing negative conclusion. So if the originality work is 75% or 25% copy, this is just a minor offense. So the teacher has to review the report well. Maybe there are some minor mistakes that the student failed to do. So you can just draw the student's attention to not to do that next time. And that is by way of what? Warning. But if the originality score is between 50% and 75%, that means more than 25% is copy work. The interpretation here is that that situation is problematic, full of problems. Okay, so the action is that the teacher have to sit up, and then he needs to find out what kind of crime is it. Is it a partial plagiarism or full plagiarism? And what method, what punishment should be given to that student? The third one is if the originality score is less than 50, okay, or in other words, more than 50% of the work is a copy work, more than 50%, then the interpretation is that there is a reason for concern. There is a red flag here. If the originality score is less than 50 or the copy work is greater than 50, there is a reason for concern here. And then what will be the action on the part of the teacher? So first offense here, the teacher needs to talk to the students. Second offense, the teacher will have to give 0 score in the assignment. And then the third offense, the student will have no choice than to meet the academic board for questions and answers, and then at the end will be given the chance to pack and go home. So this is a typical tolerance level of University of the People that they are using. So if we part of the university lecture poll and also use this to grade students. So whenever act of plagiarism is committed, I have to go follow this one this chart in order to give the right punishment to that student. Now, before you victimize a student for academic integrity, what is your originality level? Okay, this is now a basic question to all the universities, those listening or watching this lecture. University of Ghana, what is your originality level? University of Cape Coast, University of Science and Technology, University of Winneba, University of UDS, University of Bolaga Technical. What are your originality level? Remember, you cannot start punishing the student without measuring your tolerance level. If you have one, good. If you don't, please, you need to set up your plagiarism originality level so that you can use that as a yardstick to be able to give the correct punishment to your students. I just mentioned a few universities here. I left the country for a long time. The time I left, it was like only 5 universities in Ghana, and now I understand there are over 21. I do not know the rest. So these are only the few traditional schools that I have mentioned. So if you are watching, if you are a university and you are watching my presentation, please, you are being advised to set up your plagiarism originality level before you can start punishing students. Yes, this lecture is very short, and I'll take you back to the video again to watch for that lecture.
Now, let's discuss the penalties for plagiarism. Penalties for plagiarism vary, depending on the nature of the offense. The more serious the offense, the more severe the penalty. In order of severity, the penalties cover the following range. A warning is a formal reprimand. Redo the assignment with grade penalty. Failure of the assignment. Failure of the course. Suspension is the loss of student status for 1 or more semesters. And expulsion, the permanent loss of student status. the works of others in my writing? If plagiarism is such a problem, why not avoid using outside sources completely? Think back to the purposes for college writing. To improve your understanding of a particular topic or problem. To engage in the ongoing conversation in a given field. That's why using outside sources is an important part of most college writing assignments. For example, if you are writing a research paper, your instructors will expect you to use information from outside sources. Or, if you are writing an argument, you might quote from expert sources to support your position. In fact, most college writing assignments require that you use outside sources to demonstrate what you have learned. There are several ways to incorporate information from outside sources into your writing. When you quote from an outside source, you are using the exact words of the original writer. You must use quotation marks to signal that you are quoting. Another way to incorporate outside sources is to paraphrase. Paraphrase means that you use information from another source and put it in your own words. Paraphrasing is used when the exact wording of a passage isn't as important as the information itself. Both quoting and paraphrasing have their place in college writing. Properly used, outside sources expand your knowledge and understanding of a particular topic or problem. Engage you in the ongoing conversation between experts in a field, and add credibility to your claims. But as important as outside sources are, they should demonstrate your understanding, not replace it. And regardless of whether you use quotes or paraphrases, you must always give credit to the original author. Failure to give credit to others constitutes plagiarism. Remember the definition of plagiarism from earlier in this tutorial. Plagiarism is a form of academic misconduct in which you represent someone else's words or ideas as your own. Now, let's look at some examples of plagiarism. Buying a ready